wanted to give a shout out to them. They both agreed and would love to come on the show. We're trying to work out the logistics. Again, it's a little bit more difficult for us over here on this side of the pond to interact with the former players, current players, and anybody who does the writing and broadcasting. For those of you that don't know Daniel Wynn, he has been the Spurs television announcer for the last 13 or so years, and he has been on other podcasts, as has Julie. They both agreed to come on together. They want to come on together, and I think that would be just a fantastic show to have.
So great, yeah.
Such an awesome wealth of knowledge with those two. So I wanted to give them a shout out.
We're very blessed to have an incredible group of guests here in the next few months. Oh, speaking of Daniel Wynn, he got a bit of a bollocking, didn't he? Because I think, did he work the PA system? He was subbing in for somebody when I think there was some Levy out chants at the end of the Stoke match, and he played music really loudly, and everybody.
Was he the one responsible for that?
Well, I think I don't know. I have to go back and look or ask him. But for some reason, I was thinking that he stood in. I think he stood in for that responsibility of that game, and he didn't understand the volume controls. So everybody thought that the club had demanded or instructed him to play music loudly so that boos would be drowned out. I think it might have been him. I'll have to go back and look.
I don't know. I honestly, I didn't see that if we did.
Oh, hey, I do have a mild shout out because
go for it.
I have many leaders. You on top of the list, but Paul O'Keefe is one of my leaders, and I'm not gonna apologize, but maybe I'll mildly apologize for just mildly disagreeing with him the other day. We had a little banter back and forth, and he said that and he's right, because he was talking about how Soldado, playing him, you also have the benefit of marketing him, if you will. And I don't think he's going to be sold in January. I really don't. And I just said, well, look, I'm a pretty cynical guy, but I don't really see that as directly influencing why he's getting to play. I think he's getting to play because we're just better. We're a better team, and we have a better, higher probability of success with him in it. And I'm sorry, Paul. I'll never do that again. I promise. You're still my leader.
All right, so those are our shout-outs for the week. And again,
and
all of our support.
We're going to post them. We're going to post them all on Twitter. We have 2 weeks of shout-outs to get out there.
Yeah, we do.
All right, we're going to do.
We do. We appreciate all of our supporters out there, every single one of you guys. We're going to try to get around to everybody. There was something else I wanted to cover briefly. I was having a conversation with one of our followers about, I had put a comment out there, and he was talking about the relegation system, and I'm thinking on this, and there's going to be some pauses because I want to get this correct.
Oh, right.
But I think the premise and the base of this conversation that he was having with one or two others was if oh my goodness,
it was about free agency.
It was about free agency, and it was about
and salary cap.
Salary cap.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I had mentioned something about the salary cap, and he was. But I think it had a lot to do with the relegation system.
Yeah. I saw your response. I hadn't followed sort of the whole conversation, but you made a very intelligent comment about how it would never work in the U.S. But the relegation system would never work in the U.S. because of the economics involved, and it's a very, very interesting discussion, right?
Yeah, and the discussion kind of came about, and the comment that I made was, would the English Premier League be better if smaller teams could win titles? And I had replied, I had said, because of the relegation system, there will never be a salary cap. And without a salary cap, no small team will ever win it. And then someone had asked me this, at FWAYZ, he's a Manchester United fan. He said, how do you feel about the salary cap? Do you like this European system or the American draft and salary cap system? I'm going to be square up honest with you. I love relegation. It will never work in the United States for the U.S.-based sports. First of all, there's no minor league football here. There's tons of minor league baseball, but they don't have the stadiums or the capacities or the fan bases to support a AAA team coming up, let alone a Major League Baseball team going down. So the relegation system itself, and even for MLS and United States-based football, soccer, it will never work. There are multiple layers of MLS. I believe there are currently 3 major professional levels, and I think 2 of those teams, one of them is FC Dallas in MLS, and there is a Fort Worth Vaqueros who I think are in the 3rd division of American football, it just simply isn't going to work. There's not enough of a fan interest and fan base yet. So we are stuck with the salary cap. I think we can have MLS, you can have 3 players that exceed the $6 million a year or can earn up to $6 million a year. And I know that Toronto pushes that with Defoe and some of the players that they have over there. I just honestly think that the relegation, like I said, the relegation system there will never have a salary cap, and without a salary cap, no small teams will win it. I would love to see small teams. I kind of root for these teams. I follow the championship very.
Well, that's what the FA Cup's for. I mean,
and that is exactly right.
Yeah.
You know what? That's
a great history of that. Great history of small clubs, climbing the way up through the FA Cup ladder.
Sure. And who was it last year that?
Who was it? It was a couple.
Sheffield United.
Well, I mean, our noisy neighbors went through at least one championship club on the way there in the latter rounds. I think. Try not to pay too much attention.
Yeah. And so it's, and you're right, and that's what that is for.
Yeah.
You're never going to get these guys that own, whether it's Abramovich, or whether it's the Glazers who own United, or whether it's John Henry who owns Liverpool, to not pay $250 million on players if they damn well want to pay $250 million on players. Now, there are fair play rules, and you could levy a luxury tax, if you will, Major League Baseball style, that if you go over a certain amount of payroll in the year, you are then, quote-unquote, taxed on every dollar that you exceed.
Well, there is to a degree, right?
And then that money goes either back to the league or to these smaller teams.
But there is that to a degree right now, and admittedly I'm not the most educated on this, but the financial fair play rules does provide some form of punishment, if you will. I mean, it may ultimately be a slap in the hand, relatively speaking, but teams are punished, like the Man Cities of the world and the Chelseas of the world.
No, but it's a very imperfect system too, I think.
Yeah.
If you are a bigger team and have a bigger stadium, you are always going to be in financial fair play, punishment, if you will. The Spurs are always at the top of the financial fair play hierarchy because they have a big club with a small stadium. And the gross revenues that they get because they have a small stadium stays relatively low compared to their payroll, which, in the mathematical equation that is financial fair play, puts them at the top of the list every year. So when the new stadium gets built, then we will have a more of a struggle. And if Levy and crew are still in charge, who knows? It'll be amazing to see how they handle financial fair play when we have a 50,000 seat stadium.
Oh, they'll be in charge. Trust that. They'll be well in charge.
But to answer the question, I like watching the relegation system work as it does. I think Derby are definitely coming up next year. They should have been up last year. Ipswich is the one that I'm really kind of excited about because I've actually played them in a career mode in FIFA, so I'm a little kind of partial to Ipswich coming up, and they've had a really good start to the year. And
I remember in the '80s they had a really good team. They had Paul Mariner. They had a good team. In fact, Bobby Robson was manager at Ipswich way back when. They had a very, very good team. In fact, they won. I can't remember if they won Europe, but they got really far in Europe. They had a very, very good team. Anyway, sorry, I'm on a tangent there. But no, you're very knowledgeable with this, and I'm very uneducated. It's a very interesting discussion. I should get boned up a little bit more on it because it makes for.
Derby and Brentford, Bournemouth, Middlesbrough, Blackburn,
I want Brentford.
All in the top 6. There you go, Brentford, and they're on 34 points.
Give me Brentford.
Tied for second with Ipswich, and Derby's on 35.
Isn't that who Pritchard is playing for? Yeah, Pritchard's playing. Not Pritchard. Which by the way, I think we had a young'un today. Speaking of Pritchard, I think it was Alex Pritchard. I think he broke his leg, and I think the club put out.
No, it wasn't Alex Pritchard. It was the other Pritchard.
It was the other Pritchard. Okay, but Alex Pritchard
18s.
that's right, Alex Pritchard. But he is on loan at Brentford, I think.
Yeah, and he had a cracker of an assist. If you have not seen that video, go find it.
Yeah. He has some really incredible moments. He had great goals last year. Wasn't he at Swindon last year?
He was at Swindon last year.
Yeah, he had a couple of crackers of goals.
I don't mind saying it, he is a better free kick taker than Eriksson.
Really?
He is a Pirlo-esque.
Is he a Seb Larson-like player?
Yeah.
Like that's about all he can do.
Yeah. If they can get some meat on him, I think that he can make us forget about Lewis Holtby really quick. So I think that's going to be. But it's funny. I like to look at the table about this time every year, and then I'll look at it again come Christmas, and I'll kind of see how things are moving and shaking. The three teams that got relegated last year: Fulham and Norwich and Cardiff. Cardiff sits 8th, Norwich sit 11th, and Fulham sits 16th in a 24-team table.
Wow, isn't that amazing, all things considered, because they get paid so much when they do go down, and yet still they're kind of stinking it up. But by the way, real quick, you talked about Holtby. He sat on the bench for Hamburg this weekend, so I don't think you're really missing much there with him being on.
No, I think that Holtby, he's a great social media guy. He's
a likable
guy,
right?
He's very likable from a fan base. He's very likable as a teammate. I got to briefly talk to him in Chicago when he was there.
His talent does not really equal his enthusiasm.
No.
Let's be fair.
Yeah, he's just not that great of a footballer. If you could put some talent into his desire, you would have one hell of a player. He's just not that great of a footballer, and frankly, he belongs in Germany at a middle-level club. I mean, that's where he belongs. But so I find it interesting. I really do find it interesting. That the relegation system for the English Premier League works. Don't touch it. Don't fuck it up. Leave it alone.
Most Americans like Coach Ted Lasso.
Yeah.
Did you see those? Did you see that the NBC commercial where he was asking Rebecca Logos, you have no clue what relegation means, do you? And he's like, no, I don't. Can you explain it to me?
Yeah.
I love it. It makes the game so great. So.
Yeah, and it's fun to talk about. Yeah, it's as an American to our non-football.
It's so foreign
friends that you explain that system to them, and then you start putting cups into the middle of the season and how those integrate into the season and are played. It boggles the mind because American sports this is how it's laid out. Here's your playoffs. This is how you become a champion, and that's it. Here's your 30 teams or 26 teams or 32 teams or whatever your sport is. And that's it. That there are no hundreds of teams in a pyramid of 8 divisions trying to vie and battle to try to be promoted or avoid relegation every single year. I think it's one of the reasons why I have become very much less an NFL fan and have poured all of my energies, if you will, into becoming an EPL fan.
Empathize wholeheartedly. I'm a huge Saints fan, and I barely even watched 2 minutes of the Saints Steelers day. Hey, I know we're going to be wrapping up here, but I mentioned Ted Lasso and kind of joked about what relegation means. So Jason Sudeikis was interviewed. I guess he's got a film out with Jennifer Aniston, Horrible Bosses 2, and he said this openly. He said, of all of the projects that I'd like to have, I would love to see a series on Ted Lasso. He said, I've only got to spend really 5 minutes of production on him, and I think that he could easily carry 6 episodes. And I showed my brother who came in from London, and he had no idea that
they
NBC
did that.
No, it'd be brilliant. It could be so.
I would love to see him in character on Men in Blazers.
Oh my God, so
if he hasn't done that yet, I'd love to see it again.
That one commercial where he's got Kyle Walker's jersey. I think it had number 2, and then instead of saying Walker, it says Wanker.
Yeah. Anyway. And he's got it framed and hanging on the wall. I just think it means a great guy.
Yeah.
What's Wanker mean? Anyway.
Well, so this time next week, we will be chatting, post 2 London derbies, Chelsea and Palace. I'm very looking forward to that, hopefully. I mean, I cross my fingers.
Got any good Twitter trumps? Any good Twitter trumps this year?
No, I got nothing. You continually trump me. I don't have anything that can really compete with you. I got nothing. In fact, I do have a very quick funny story. I was trolling for followers on Friday, and 80 had a bunch of FFs that didn't include me, and I just said, hey, if you think I'm worth following, I just said it generally, and then he apologized and said, follow Z at Ztronch because he's a big U.S. supporter, and then within 30 minutes I lost 3 followers. So I had a good laugh. 80, thank you. Thank you very. You'll get another shout out. Thank you very much for trying to be.
There you go. This week we picked up Julie Welch, who we've already talked about. Rob White, son of legend John White, who co-wrote the book The Ghost.
Yeah, we should spend time on that story for U.S. supporters. It's an amazing story.
Absolutely, we're going to do that. And Lorraine Bergstrom. Lorraine is the organizer of all things as far as getting legends together for events in Essex. So she added shortly after Julie, so I was very pleased to have her on. Really quick, before we end, Christmas lists. We kind of talked about some books, man. And you didn't realize that the biography of Tottenham Hotspur, A, was a book, and B, that Julie wrote it. So